Zimbabwe's had a checkered past, to say the least. But I think what's important for every visitor to Zimbabwe is to separate what the country has to offer and its politics. You're here to enjoy some of the best wildlife areas in Southern Africa.
This trip has been long coming. It's been a trip that we've planned for many years. For us as adventurers, Monopools is one of those bucket list destinations where I think everybody that really like to travel need to see.
My name's Graeme, the owner of 16 Degrees South. We're a specialist expedition company, and we specialize in creating extraordinary experiences to some of Zimbabwe's most wild and remote places.
I'm Will Jansen from Will of Africa Adventures. So the trip that we planned are roughly 4,750 kilometers from beginning to end. And we entered through Botswana and then from Botswana into Zimbabwe at Panamatanga border post. It's about 140 kilometers southwest from Victoria Falls.
This evening we've arrived in the Zambesi National Park. We're about 45 minutes outside Victoria Falls on the Kazangula Road. A little gem here, the Zambesi National Park on the southern side. The river gets all of the focus, but we found this little spot in the Chamabunda Vlei, and we've got a beautiful service site here behind us thanks to the Bajani Trust.
We spent our afternoon just chilling in the camp, and now we are on our way to a boat ride.
It's got a very grounding feeling to it. You get on the water, you're sipping on a gin and tonic with Zambesi beer, and that's for a lot of people, having been with them or guided them in that experience. It's sort of that moment where I've arrived in Africa. So we've had 2 days in Victoria Falls and we're now heading back along the Zambesi. We're following the river to the east downstream. Our destination today is Chizarira National Park, probably 300-350 kilometers from here. A couple of points of interest along the way. It is the road less traveled. We're starting to go off the sort of main tourism route. But for a self-drive destination, we're heading into the realms of Chizarira, Matusadona, on through Kariba and then down into the more popular Monopool. So that's the plan today, probably 7-8 hours in the car with our stops and enjoying those points of interest, but yeah, a nice day to do it.
We filled up in Victoria Falls before heading towards Chizarira National Park. And the golden rule of overlanding in Africa always remains: fill up when you can.
So below Victoria Falls you have the Batoka Gorge, sort of over 110 meters deep. The Zambesi runs after the falls, it meanders through the Batoka Gorge, recognized mostly around the world for having some of the best whitewater rafting on earth, up to I think a grade 6 plus, unrunnable rivers in kayaking and rafting terms. Huge amounts of water, very spectacular down there. We've got a huge concentration of nesting raptors, our falcons in particular, peregrine, lanner, taita, and then black storks and black eagles. So as you can see from the vista behind me, it's a fantastic area for them. Some really good nesting sites and some nesting sites that have been monitored for many years. About 60 odd k's of the Batoka Gorge before you start getting down towards Milabisi and the top end of Lake Kariba. So we're meandering our way down there and just taking in some of the beautiful spots like this. So lots of little gems along the way. You can pull over and come and look at the gorge, which I highly recommend.
With long days in the saddle, rest stops are crucial, especially when there are beautiful places like these to make coffee.
this now for?
Koffijn? Talk to me about the Afrikaans and the English situation here.
And I got, when we got onto the strip, I was just settling into my car, very luxury, Toyota Land Cruiser, and I got onto the radio and I spoke Afrikaans, and someone reprimanded me. And I then spoke only English from then on. But the person who reprimanded me for the next 100 kilometers, he spoke Afrikaans, so he probably thought there should be some balance.
How do you respond to this?
Oh, am I then someone?
Obvious. Obvious.
I'm very surprised though, but you know what happens, when you have to actually call safety things out on a road then the natural thing is to go to your mother tongue, and that's what happened. Otherwise people misunderstand you when you actually have to speak a foreign language.
It seemed to me there was emergencies the first 100 kilometers.
So leaving Vic Falls and heading towards Chizarira, you've got roughly 320, 330 k's of mostly gravel. There's a small section of tarmac in between, closer to Binga. But you need to have your tyre pressures correct, you need to air down, you need to take it easy, drive in high four. Gets a bit loose in some areas around the corners, some bad corrugations. It's not a road to do fast, you give yourself plenty of time. Take in the scenery, you traverse along the edge of the Batoka Gorge for the start of it, and then make your way through to the Kamativi Binga Road. It's pretty potted and narrow, need to concentrate. But that road then takes you into Chizarira forest area, and then below the Chizarira escarpment.
Just before Chizarira, we stocked up on some firewood, and the local people from Zimbabwe have welcomed us with smiles since we entered.
Kuseni, by 7, 8 o'clock.
Okay. And I was told even myself. Very big purpose.
Fresh ones?
Yeah, fresh ones.
Right, hold on.
Yeah. I'll wait till
Fresh pawpaws, Woolworth style, 2 days time. Fresh grown from the community garden. Yes. With a bit of lemon juice. Yo, Tasha's forget it.
Chizarira National Park, it's actually a park on an escarpment. So you are in the Zambesi Valley, and then you climb over 400 meters to the top of the park, and the head office is right on the top of the park.
Yeah, Chizarira is a special park. It certainly was a long lost true wilderness destination in Zimbabwe over the difficult times when tourism completely fell away. I think I went there in 2019 or 2021 when we could travel, and we were like the 9th and 10th people to arrive in the whole year. That element needs to change. It's a park that needs visitors to sustain itself. It's a different visitor experience. That being said, it's not a place you go to see spectacular volumes of wildlife that's comparable to Gonra's or Monopools. It's a wilderness destination. It's a place of scenic beauty, hidden gorges, which its namesake, and a place where you can spend 3 or 4 days just quietly tucked away, not moving much, and reading a book or doing some photography or bird watching. And the bird watching is probably the greatest highlight, certainly in the summer months when our visiting migrants all arrive. You get incredible diversity of birds. So if you are into your birding, I highly recommend Chizarira.
It's warm, it's baie warm.
So end of an epic third day, we've arrived at Chizarira, Machini Gorge. one of the most majestic and scenic parks in Zimbabwe, and one of the least visited. And with the view behind me, one wonders why. Two of the Macheni sites, the Macheni View and Macheni Gorge, the favourites, and I highly recommending coming to stay at either one of these two. There are other sites further into the park. This park has a checkered history. It didn't get any love and attention for a very long time, and got caught up in a sorry state of affairs as a result. But now it's under some co-management with a private third-party NGO investment firm, and we're seeing great things coming to life with park rescue and national parks. But the views, and to sit and to relax, it's also accessible throughout the year, unlike some of the other parks down in the Zambesi Valley. We are up on top of the escarpment here, and that's what gives us the drastic relief behind me. So we've got 2 epic days in Chizarira. Tomorrow we'll check in from Macheni View and hopefully have some good sightings of some fantastic raptors. So over and out from Macheni Gorge.
Now that's the way you want to wake up in the morning at the Chizarira National Park. The campsite's right at the edge of the gorge, and you've got black eagles soaring below. I'm going to try and get a shot of them. You've got lion, you've got elephant, you've got leopard, but it's more of a landscape park. So today's plan is, it's Sunday, we're going to drive around and explore the landscape of this park. But one thing I have to tell you is, driving in yesterday, the trees in this place is out of this world. So I cannot wait to explore it a bit further. But man, this is absolutely epic.
During the morning game drive, we did not come across a lot of game, but we took in the serenity this park has to offer. There was no real rush, and time stood still for a moment. And if you look in the finer details, you see extraordinary beauty. Graeme also showed us some of the other campsites within the park. Then we headed back for a white wine lunch. Graeme and I headed out to explore some of the trees of this park, which I'm obsessed with.
One of the really nice things about Chizarira is the scenic beauty and the woodland. So we get a lot of brachystegia woodland, and this glaucescens, what used to be called mountain acacia incorrectly, but the brachystegia glaucescens, beautiful grey ghost coloured trees that occur on these slopes that drop off to the south on the edge of the escarpment, but lots of mufuti, prince of whale feather, and a variety of other brachystegia species. Fine leaf, these grassland areas. This altitude gives a very unique and unusual combination of vegetation types. So it is a very beautiful area, very good for walking, a lot cooler than the Zambesi Valley floor, and an all-weather destination. You can come here in the rains, good migrant species, and in the dry season, despite the haze, it's got a really nice feel and good light and good game. So one of the cool things about the brachystegia woodland is in September, when the new flush comes out, the trees go into these beautiful hues of orange, yellow and green. And that's a natural adaptation to the hot sun in those months, September, October, November. The trees flush in a deep red, dark orange, a rusty color. And then they go into a lighter orange and then into a yellow and into a light green before reaching their standard color. The eastern highlands of Zimbabwe in that period, it's a wonderful time to visit. The Midlands areas, the Shirugwi, that Miombo woodland and brachystegia woodland is full of these Masasa trees that lend a fantastic aura and atmosphere based on the colors. So it's synonymous with the New England, east coast of America. When you have the fall, the irony is ours are when the spring, it happens in spring, in our spring in Zimbabwe. So very nostalgic experience growing up on a farm in the Midlands, and I always remember walking through the hills with those spring flush of the Masasa trees. We've got a interesting setup here. This brachystegia, this glaucescens, I think got struck by lightning. We'll look at it just now, or it could have died from a fungal infection. So this is what we call a hoof fungus or bracket fungus. And once the tree is infected with the fungus, it's just a matter of time until it dies. This is the fruiting part of the fungus, but the fungus infects the entire part of the tree. And these rings on here are often indicative of seasonal growth. So the fungus typically grows in the wet season. And yeah, I mean, you can see here, just looking at the rings, it's several years old, which would coincide with how long it takes for the tree to die. It's most likely that this tree collapsed from a lightning strike, just looking at the ash on the ground and the pattern of where the branches were, and the fact that the root structure and all the burnt ends of the tree. It could have been a bushfire, but just looking at the other damage to the tree up there that's still standing, good assessment that it was a lightning strike. And that's how bushfires start at times. And then obviously all these dead branches, so your rich environment for your invertebrates and your scorpions, centipedes, beetles, cockroaches, ants, grubs, larvae, borers, and you'll often see baboons moving through these areas, lifting up rocks and pulling off bark, and they're feeding and they're just moving through the woodland. So yeah, always something interesting to see, and not always the big stuff.
It was our last night in Chizarira, and our hearts were full. The beauty of this park is something special. There's a feeling around this place. The stunning views, the towering trees, the hidden gorges, all the markings of a must-visit overlanding destination. following day, we saddled up for a long trek behind the wheel.
Right, so we've left a very windy Chizarira and we're on our way to Matusadona. Got about 225, 230 k's. We've just stopped in Zimbabwe, below Tundazi. Tundazi is the very prominent feature in this part of the valley. It's the home of the Great Serpent, is the interpretation of that name in the local dialect. And yeah, we've just stopped at this big seep or the spring line where for quite a few years now the guys have been growing wheat and rice, but it's a very big open seep and it's got a huge amount of produce that comes out of here, so you can stop along the way and buy pawpaws, bananas, citrus and other bits and pieces, so it's quite a convenient little community stop. And yeah, on our way to Matusadona, gonna come down the escarpment today from Chifudzi Gate, and we're gonna come down through Maronga and then into Tashinga. Leaving Chizarira, we went back onto the main Binga Karoi Road, or Kamativi Binga Road, and then from there, to be honest, the road's been in better condition than it has been. It's probably one of the most discussed roads in southern Africa. The sort of fear that it's this car braking road and what's the condition. A number of times I get asked what condition the road's in, and I always smile at myself because a lot of people buy 4x4s. And with the vehicles we have today and the tires and the accessories and equipment you can get, you know, just take it easy and enjoy the road, but it's not going to ever be a certain standard. So it's a road you have to be prepared and adapt to it as it comes, but enjoy the journey.
Speaking of enjoying the journey, Graeme sure knows how to pick a lunch spot.
How's it, Will?
Hello Dirk, how are you?
Lucky and you.
Very well, thank you.
Nice stop for lunch, yeah?
Yeah, look at the sand. It's like beautiful building sand, plaster sand. Very nice river actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Mick. How are you doing? You look worried.
Chilled, bro. Very chilled.
Getting to Matusadona, the southern end of Matusadona, you check in at Chifudzi Gate. You let the park know that you're entering the park, and then you got about a 2-hour journey down the escarpment into Tashinga. And Tashinga is a beautiful campsite on the edge of the lake, and probably one of my most favorite ones. And yeah, you've arrived at Tashinga after a 6, 7, maybe an 8-hour journey depending on the time of year. And what a beautiful site to arrive to.
This is hands down one of the most beautiful campsites I have ever been to. This is Lake Kariba behind me, and this is Tashinga campsite. It is beautiful. Matusadona, you can see that African Parks has done a lot of good work in that park, and at the lodges there's an upliftment in the lodging. The numbers of the game has been increased. They are also repopulating the park, and I think the great thing about that is that you can combine houseboats and Matusadona National Park as a part of your trip. So you can easily have Lake Kariba on a houseboat experience with a wildlife element.
Matusadona is one of our more recent conservation success stories. It was a park that had been forgotten, similar to Chizarira. Low visitor numbers, inaccessibility challenges, no air access, poaching, a very fluid border with Zambia to the north. We are now seeing, and I'm very proud and happy as a park very close to where I grew up, seeing the park turn around and start to reach its true potential, what it could be.
We're about halfway through our Zimbabwe expedition, and we now have to cross Lake Kariba.
Thank you so much for watching. If you do like the videos, please like and subscribe. And we do hope to see you on our next episode of our Zimbabwe adventure. Take care.